In 1980, at the age of 7, I entered and won my school PE competition. It was kind of like CrossFit games, but with tiny people and less doping. In 1982, I entered and won again. And I would have entered and won in 1983, but I never got the chance because my parents pulled me out of school, along with my brother, and took us to Woolacombe on holiday instead. January 2019, I entered a local 10k race. First one I'd done. And as I crossed the finish line, they give me a medal. And I go on something of a John Wick after the puppy incident rampage all last year, acquiring medals everywhere I can. This is the last one of 2019. I got it a couple of weeks ago, a little 10k race I did with the dog. Here is the problem. Jenna allowed me one row of medals in the beginning of the year. And as it grew too big, she allowed me 2 rows of medals and then even allowed me a 3rd row around the corner before saying, stop getting more medals. Now I know what you're thinking. Between the medals and the motorcycle helmets that we travelled around Africa with is a very obvious gap on the wall where I could fit more medals by throwing this picture out. That is a puzzle completed by Jenna's dearly departed grandmother, and while I could have her throw it out, the physical condition it would leave me in would be such that I wouldn't be able to achieve any more medals anyway, so it'd be a waste of time. There is no other option for it than to simply remove all the medals, which I need to do now because in 3 days' time I'm running my first race of 2020 and I've got nowhere to put that medal. Now I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with the medals. I've got a vague idea about acrylic and something. But I do know what I need to do first. So the plan is now to just wear and enjoy these for the rest of the evening, and then tomorrow seriously think about putting them into some sort of format that is slightly more sustainable. Agree? They say that a good story needs a setup, some conflict and a resolution. This is the conflict. The acrylic sheet has arrived, the resin has also arrived. I have made such a mess in the house, I've been kicked out into the office. I've now done a pretty good job of wrecking the office as well. Mess everywhere. Ribbons that have been cut off the medal, they are for the bin. The medals all laid out over here. So here's my template, pretty simple, cheap nasty wood frame. The next step is to take the medals, put them onto the base, glue them down, and then fill this up with acrylic resin and be left with this sort of awesome plastic block of excellence. I'm now going to glue them all down, let that set overnight, and then tomorrow morning pour the stuff on them. Can you tell I have no idea what I'm doing at all? It is time for the most exciting and terrifying part of the whole process. All the medals have been stuck down overnight, pretty much all glued in place, no problems there. So I just need to get on with it. The instructions are pretty simple. I read the box, pour over the project. How easy is that? I'm not sure if snapping the wrist like that is an essential part of the glove application process, but it seems very professional. Now hopefully this doesn't need too much mixing, because as I pour this one onto the other one, I guess they'll sort of mix together by default. It doesn't look very clear at this stage, it looks quite milky. I'm making such a mess of everything here. Okay, that's the messy bit done. I'm not sure how long I get before the product goes too hard to work with. Do you know what? I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to pour the product onto it, fill it up so that it is deep enough to cover the deepest. Okay, here we go. There are air bubbles rising to the surface and popping. I'm going to try and film them without dropping the GoPro in, hopefully. Way of solving it apparently is to blast them off with a hot gun. So I'm going to try that. Okay, so it is looking really, really good. The air bubbles have all gone. Okay, I'm going to leave it 10 minutes and then come back. Okay, it is about 1:30 in the morning. I've stayed up for hours, coming out every half hour or so and popping the few remaining bubbles, but it's long since now got to the point where the resin is too thick for any more bubbles to come to the surface. I also got to binge watch the entire season 4 of Homeland, which was quite cool as well. The next step now is to let it continue to dry. I'm going to have it sat here for a good couple of days, I think, until it is rock hard, and then move on to whatever step 2 is going to be. Get these sides off and have a look at what I'm left with. But yeah, it's looking pretty cool. It's done. 48 hours sat here. I put the cling film over the top to stop any dust settling on it while the surface was still tacky, but it is now bone dry. Plan A, Plan B. The wood frame is off. There is silicone that needs to be cleaned off everywhere at the moment. It's not bad. Okay, the silicone has all been removed. There is some sanding down to do. I've got my sandpaper ready. I need to watch YouTube to figure out how to go about doing it. The things that need sanding, there's still patches of silicone on the sides that need sanding off. It's taken on a weird marking on the surface just in the short time it's been out. I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but it definitely needs polishing. And also where the resin touched the template at the sides, there's a lip. I can feel a sharp edge on here where it rides up, so that needs to be polished off. I'm hoping sanding this is as easy as picking the right grade of grit paper and rubbing it, and it's as easy as that, and it will come up looking mirror or glass, just like glass. Okay, I'm back working in the garage because this is now the polishing part of the job, and Jenna thought that I might make too much mess if I did it in the office. Looking at how much mess I have made, she kind of has a point, I suppose. There are ups and downs to this project at this stage. We've done about 3 days of polishing off and on. What's down? Down is the quality of the finished product. Looks like it is not possible to get any lower, actually. It's looking disastrous at the moment. What is up is the budget. I was going to say budget creep, but that would imply some degree of almost sort of imperceptible edging higher. This budget is racing skywards. I've had to go and buy a polishing thing because my sander has taken it as far as it can go. I now need to add polishing compounds. Let me explain what we've got so far. Okay, the electric sander here with the wet dry paper here did a really good job along these edges of getting all the silicone off and smoothing them down. It also did a good job of this edge here, which was slightly raised up, and it's actually left the whole surface very smooth. But a couple of problems have remained. Firstly, and most weirdly, you can see the middle looks quite clear still, whereas it looks very much sanded and a matte finish out to the edges here. That's because the middle here is still soft. Literally, days, a couple of weeks now since I poured the mould.
if I stick my fingernail in hard enough, it will leave an impression. It's almost as though the microscopically small scratches from the wet dry paper that leave this matte look here, when caused here, because this has all been sanded the same, sort of goes back to how it was before in some sort of weird molten metal way, T1000 style, I guess. The other problem is the wet dry paper up to 2500 would only get it as far as this sort of hazy look. I don't know if I can really get close enough on there to show what's going on. You get the idea. It is smooth, but there are small enough scratches in it that it gives it that hazy effect. So the next job is to buff and polish this using my polishing and rubbing compounds up there along with my new toy. Hopefully it will get this crystal clear. The edges, I don't care. I'm going to leave those slightly hazy. That doesn't matter. No one's looking at this project from the side. The back I'm not sure about. So, new tool time. This project is starting to do my head in. I have polished it, buffed it. I have used every product known to man, and I have got it smooth. It feels smooth, but it is constantly left with this weird sort of haze. I'm going to try and video it, but I don't think I can get it. Hazy. I have tried everything. Wax, polishes, cutting compounds. I went back and re-sanded everything, re-polished it, re-buffed it, and I'm still left with this weird haze. Now, the only thing that I did notice is that when I was spraying water on to clean it, previously hazy sections would look crystal clear when viewed through the droplets of water, which kind of ties in with something that I'd seen on a forum for people that do acrylic resin pouring as a hobby, where they said if there was imperfections in the surface, one of the easiest ways to solve it was to actually just re-pour. That does almost seem too good to be true, but I'm at an absolute loss as to what else I can do. It is becoming hard to class this project as anything other than at least a minor disaster at this stage. I've made such a mess of the garage, I'm back in the office. And this is very much last chance saloon. The surface is a mixture of soft resin, which I've Googled. It seems an imperfect original mix, so there's that problem. Other parts of it are cloudy from where my sanding is presumably leaving little scratches that I just cannot for the life of me remove. It's not ideal. So here we go, last chance. I bought some more resin, and the idea is to use this, that's half of it, that's the resin, the hardener, and pour it over the surface, thus doing what? I don't know, creating at least a hard surface, hopefully, by mixing it properly this time, and allowing that new resin to fill in the microscopic scratches that is causing it to be cloudy. So here we go, mix it up, pour it on, fingers crossed. Well, it's worked. There's just not enough of the resin. I bought 2 smaller pots. So I guess I buy another pot and pour some more on tomorrow. Man, this is long-winded. Okay, one day on. The resin has set and there wasn't enough product, so it's left big gaps everywhere. So that sucks. It is the project that keeps on giving. I have bought more resin, going to mix up more resin and pour more resin on top, and then throw it out the window. So the project is done, or rather I'm done with the project. I'm not quite sure which one it is. It's all right. My expectation of how good this would look was up here. My expectation of how much it would cost was here, and things have not quite worked out like that. The equipment that I ended up buying, the sander, the polisher, the extra resin, I don't know how much it ended up costing. A lot. How good does it look? I mean, all the medals are in there. What more do you want? There's a few air bubbles here and there. There's some markings on the surface. I don't know. 5 out of 10, I guess. The plan was to fit it over there, but it's not going over there because it doesn't look good enough to qualify for such a prime bit of whatever visual real estate. The alternative is to stick it in the corner of the garden, which is on the side of the sauna. I don't think it's good enough to go there. It has been suggested to me it could go on the back of the sauna, but that appears to be a rather rude suggestion. It's better than that. It might just end up in here somewhere. Found somewhere. It is not the most prominent display of anything in the house, but it's with the trainers, so it's kind of sports related. So I've been told that apparently it is better than I think it is, and it needs to go up outside. I disagree, but she's in charge. I'm going to drill the holes, whack it up on the side of the office, and that is where it will live. So it is up, it is on the office. From a distance, it doesn't look too bad. Up close is not quite so good. I've been reliably informed that once that whole area is covered with medals, which means many more years' work and a far better technique in terms of setting them in resin next year, it will look quite impressive. I'm just going to have to take her word for it. For now, I will just admire it from not too close up.